The city of Granada was the last Moorish capital of Al-Andalus, the last city to hold out against the reconquest. The Nasrid dynasty ruled from here, managing to resist Christian invasion for nearly 200 years. Though today, you'd be forgiven for thinking that the Moors still run Granada.
If you're in the mood, you can take an Arabic bath in one of the city's many Moorish bathhouses.
After taking the waters, you can visit a Moorish tea house and take some tea. And then, if you're feeling peckish, a trip to a Moorish restaurant is in order. It's all very atmospheric, even if it is completely fake, a confection to put the tourists in an appropriately Moorish mood. But the one really authentic Moorish experience is to be had in the ultimate Moorish palace, the Alhambra. Even here, you can't get away from the tourists. Over 6,000 people visit this extraordinary series of royal palaces every day to hear tales of the Nasrid kings who used to live here. And what bloodthirsty tales they are. According to legend, the Alhambra was built by Christian slaves imprisoned in dark dungeons. And at least 9 of the Nasrid kings were murdered by methods as dastardly as drowning, stabbing, and eating poisoned batter. The Alhambra is above all a palace of myths and legends. It's a place where people feel a profound need to tell stories, partly to explain to themselves the nature of this place. For example, it's said that the Sultan used to sit here on his throne. It is said that this door here is a false entrance designed to put off would-be assassins, although everything we know about the bloody history of the Nasrid dynasty suggests that assassins were not to be easily fooled. They usually got their man. The truth is that we know almost nothing about the precise functions of each of these spaces. The only thing that we can be certain of is that the art and the architecture here is absolutely breathtaking. The Moors might have been coming to the end of their power and influence in Spain, but they were determined to go out in style. The Alhambra is like a greatest hits of Moorish design, with the volume turned up to 10. It's the absolute summation of everything that made the art of Islamic Spain so extraordinary. A place where the expression of power and deep spirituality, that eternal search for paradise, are absolutely intertwined. There's such a scrum of tourists in the Alhambra today that I think it makes it pretty difficult to appreciate this place as it was originally meant to be appreciated, which is as a space of contemplation and reflection. Each of the spaces in this palace were meant to bring you closer to God. And that's the fundamental purpose of this wonderful room called the Hall of the Ambassadors, which is all about pattern and geometry. The numbers 7 and 4 are repeated everywhere in this space. 7 signifying the stages by which the soul ascends to God, and 4 representing the number of areas into which the vault of heaven could be divided. And we see that reflected in this magnificent ceiling. But the 7 and the 4 lead us ineluctably to the 1. And that's the message that's reinforced in all of these inscriptions. There is no God but Allah. There is no conqueror but Allah. This is a space that's designed hypnotically through the repetition of pattern and design and inscription to focus our minds solely and exclusively on the higher reality of God. But it's not just the decoration of the Alhambra that invokes God. The very design of the architecture is permeated by the spirit of Islam. It's a fundamental tenet of Islam that there is no God but God. There is no reality other than His higher reality. Everything we experience in this life is impermanent, insubstantial. But how do you introduce the idea of impermanence into architecture, the most stable of forms? Well, here at the Alhambra, they've done it by introducing water everywhere. Seen in reflection, even the most solid of things seems ephemeral, shifting. In fact, the whole design of the Alhambra is aimed at making the palace appear to be not quite of this world. The columns are so slender that the arches they support seem to float in the air. And the intricate wood and stone carving makes solid materials seem to dissolve into fragile lace. I think there's a wonderful paradox about the architecture of the Alhambra, which is that you get all this effort to create a sense of effortlessness, this tremendous intricacy of structure, to create the feeling of a structure that's on the point of its own disappearance. Look at that wonderful honeycomb vaulting in the ceiling of this space. Standing in here, it's almost as if you're standing at the bottom of a glass of fizzy water, looking up and watching the bubbles sparkle off towards infinity. I think there's something very moving about the fact that the Moors created a building that seems to be on the brink of disappearing, just as their own civilization was about to vanish from Spain. The Alhambra today really is the ghost of what it once was, but visiting it is still an extremely powerful and poignant experience. This was the last hurrah of Islamic civilization in Spain, the very last expression of that beautiful ideal of paradise.